Good Erev Shabbos. It's Parshas Shoftim, and I'm going to continue the Devar Torah that I wrote and sent out in the email that comes with this link. So if you feel lost, take a look at that first. But a very, very quick summary is that great Jewish giants have the ability to come up with insights that, when they're necessary, are not necessarily things that logic, their own logic, would have thought they would have ruled based on the theory, so to speak, of what was known in Torah. But their gut told them at the time when the ruling came, they needed to make that ruling, and their gut is a Torah gut created by 70 years of scholarship, on average probably about 10 hours a day of Torah study, 7 days a week, from the time of their bar mitzvah till they're in their late 70s or early 80s. These people have a different gut than we do, but everybody is human. What would happen if, by following their gut first and then setting out to prove it, maybe they proved something that was incorrect? Well, in ancient times, there was the halacha called the Zaken Mamre, which meant one of the peers of the Sanhedrin, one of the great sages himself, made a ruling that, let's say, caught some flack in the Sanhedrin. Well, he would have an opportunity to go back on what he said. And if he didn't, well, he got a pretty serious, the details for another time, slap on the wrist. But what about today when there's no Sanhedrin? Well, the idea is there is sort of a Sanhedrin, and I call it, it's my nickname, take it or leave it, the Sanhedrin of history. It means that, who are the other Torah giants in that generation and the immediate generation following him, and maybe another generation after that? Is everybody accepting what he says or not? And it could be that they won't. And that's sort of like the Sanhedrin ruling that this rule that this person said, no matter how great they were, was incorrect. And there's a correcting mechanism for Judaism. I personally was the experience of this with one particular issue where I learned the ruling of a particular giant of Jewish history who passed away in the last decade or so. I won't get into the details of his life. And he was, one of the greatest sages of his time in the end of the 20th century. I was following his ruling, and when I asked, it came up in a discussion with my rabbi, he hesitated and didn't want to correct it. After all, it was so-and-so, a great rabbi of all time. And eventually, when he didn't get back to me, and I kept pressing him to find out what was the story, could I rely on that opinion or not, he said, ask someone else. And he told me who to ask. He sent me to someone, older and supposedly wiser than him in town. And he almost had the same reaction. And when I pressed him, he finally said, look, he said, that person is so-and-so. I can't really argue on him. But you need to know nobody today accepts that ruling. You'll be following they didn't accept it when he wrote it, and they didn't accept it just after his passing, and they still don't accept it. It's a lone wolf opinion. Well, I understood that to mean I shouldn't follow it either, even though it was a great opinion. And that's how Judaism stays on course. We don't just follow one great rabbi. We follow a plurality of them, whether it's the Sanhedrin or what we call the historical Sanhedrin that keeps track and keeps Judaism on track. That doesn't mean new things can't be created. We spoke about that in the article that we wrote this week. But the bottom line is that we have to follow the collective authority of the great Jewish people, not just one or two, but the greatest of the Jewish people at any given time. Good Shabbos.